It's been a tight race in Washington state tonight, where Sanders is running neck and neck with Biden. Still too early to call tonight's primary, as the state is also busy coping with coronavirus. Hardest hit Washington state announcing new rules for nursing homes and assisted living facilities as cases continue to rise. Let's bring in Fox News contributor Richard Fowler and conservative radio talk show host Jason Rantz of KTTH in Seattle. Good to have you both with us.
Good to be here, Shannon.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, Washington state has got a lot to worry about right now. I mean, they by far have the highest number of fatalities and worries about continued spread there. It's interesting to watch. They've got a primary playing out there in the midst of all this, and there has been a lot of early voting there that we've talked about. The New York Times had this talking about what's going on in Washington. They said, in a race this tight, it is entirely possible that the outcome could depend on how many people voted early when more candidates were in the race. I mean, Jason, how many people do you think went out and spent that vote, maybe wishing they had it back tonight?
There are certainly a lot, and I think it actually hurt Joe Biden. So you saw about a little over 1 million voters before Super Tuesday, and you were starting to see it in some of the results right now. Michael Bloomberg doing well, Elizabeth Warren doing well. And you're seeing most likely that means Joe Biden missing out on some opportunities. Now, at the end of the day, Washington is very, very slow at counting ballots. We're not going to have a winner for at least another day or two, and we still have hundreds of thousands of ballots that have not been cast, nor tens of thousands actually been delivered. I think Bernie Sanders ends up pulling out a win, but it's going to be a squeaker. And when you look at the numbers, it's going to say that actually Joe Biden, had he, didn't have to compete against some of these candidates who dropped out, would have been the winner. And that's going to calm a lot of the nerves, again, of the establishment who think Joe Biden actually now can pull it off.
Okay, so tonight, Yahoo News is reporting that a senior advisor to Bernie Sanders, and I'm going to have to quote this with it bleeped a little bit, says the GD plane has crashed into the mountain. Richard, doesn't sound from that one not named but quoted individual with the Bernie Sanders campaign. They haven't obviously had a good night. What if, though, we wake up in a day or two and he has pulled out a win in Washington or some of these other states further left coast? What argument do you think he has to make for staying in? Or do you think, as Chris Hahn thought, he's out before the next debate on Sunday?
I think Bernie might actually go to the debate because for him this is about ideas and pushing his ideas forward. But if you look at the map and you look at the numbers of delegates you need, the Bernie path is very, very, very narrow. And how you get to that is if you look at the exit polls from many of these states. What you find is in South Carolina, Joe Biden depended on African-American voters to get him over the hump and to give him what his campaign is calling this Joe-mentum. And now if you look at the Michigan exit polls, what you found is that Joe Biden has what used to be the Bernie coalition. He has white working class, non-college educated folks. He has white college educated folks. He has African Americans, and he's with Latinx voters, which means if he has all those pockets, he is the only candidate in this race with an actual coalition that could likely beat Donald Trump. Look at where he won tonight. He won in Macomb County. For you to beat Donald Trump, or for you to take back Michigan, you're going to have to win Macomb County. Joe Biden did very well there tonight, which shows, or last night, depending on the time, which shows that he does have a bit of momentum, and he is likely going to be the Democratic nominee for president of the United States.
Okay, so let's now talk about the coronavirus situation in Washington, which has been dire. A tweet citing the mayor there says, at Mayor Jenny tells me, the Seattle mayor, of COVID-19, quote, there are more significant restrictions on how we live our day-to-day lives coming. It is going to be a long haul, and we will be changed when we come out at the end of it, but we will come out, we will rebuild and be strong. So, Jason, you're there on the ground. Tell us what life is like.
We're dealing with some nervous energy. Tomorrow, the Governor Jay Inslee is expected to announce restrictions on social gatherings of more than 250 people. So that means we're not having Sounders and Dragon games over at CenturyLink. Concerts are going to be canceled. But at the same time, there's been some conflicting messaging. On the one hand, you say, okay, more than 250 people, that's not right. But they're not closing the schools down. And some districts are choosing to close their schools down. So a lot of people, especially the kids, are looking at this and saying, I don't know what we're supposed to do. They're getting nervous. Parents want to know why some districts are closing schools and the others are not. And Governor Jay Inslee has to answer that question, as does Mayor Jenny Durkan. It's confusing to a lot of people, and it's concerning.
Yeah, and Jay Inslee has been at it a little bit with the administration over certain things. But what's interesting is that California Gavin Newsom, who probably has more lawsuits against the Trump administration than any governor out there, and is not a fan of the Trump administration, says this, that he had a private call with President Trump. He said everything that I could have hoped for, every single thing he said, they followed through on. So, Richard, These governors who are on the front line of this thing, there are some who are praising this president, even if they're Democrats and opponents of his normally.
Listen, I want to praise the president because I think we need the president to be an effective leader here to get this country through this crisis. With that being said, I think one of the larger problems that we have, and I think the White House is doing everything in their power to get in front of, is making sure people have access to tests, and not the swabs, but actually those tests are actually getting tested. And you're saying, yes, you're positive, no, you're negative. And I think that is important more so than anything else. And I think this is where this White House has been a little bit behind. I think the president's been more focused on the economic impact of this instead of the human impact. And I think that's where that speaks of this nervous energy. Local governments aren't really sure what to do, and local governments will be the face of how we beat the coronavirus, because they're the ones who you see every day. But they need guidance from the federal government, and that seems to be missing right now.
Yeah, the CDC said it takes the blame for the stumble on those tests. They should be much more widely available now, we hope, for everyone's sake. Richard and Jason, great to have you both with us.
Good to see you, Shannon.
Thank you. Okay, a coronavirus vaccine ready for testing on humans in a month or so. Well, we'll talk with an expert about what we can realistically expect. He works on vaccines. He knows. Next.